The sky had never looked like that before. For years, Noah had preached. For years, he had built. For years, he had warned. And for years, they laughed. The ark stood massive against the horizon, not just wood and nails, but a testimony, a sermon built with calloused hands, a warning shaped in obedience. But this night felt different. The wind moved strangely. The animals were restless. The air felt heavy, like creation itself was holding its breath. Children ran past the ark, still mocking. Men shook their heads. Women whispered, "Rain from the sky?" Old man Noah has finally lost his mind. But somewhere in the crowd, someone hesitated. What if he was right? One young man stood still longer than the others. He remembered Noah's voice from years ago, not angry, but broken, not threatening, but pleading. Turn back. God is giving you time. Time. That was the one thing they thought would never run out. Inside, it was quiet. Noah's sons checked the animals one last time. The wood creaked softly. The smell of hay and earth filled the air. Noah stood alone for a moment, not as a builder, not as a preacher, but as a father. He stepped outside and looked at the fading sun. Was this the last sunset these people would ever see? Did his heart break? Yes. Judgment was coming, but mercy had been offered for years. Imagine Noah whispering, "Lord, if even one more would come." But heaven was silent. Not because God was cruel, but because the decision had already been made. The ark was not just protection, it was a line drawn in history. Outside, disbelief. Inside, obedience. The young man in the crowd took one step forward, then stopped. Pride is louder than fear, and fear of people is stronger than fear of God. He walked away. And somewhere in the unseen realm, angels moved. Because Scripture says something chilling. Then the Lord shut him in. Genesis 7:16. Not Noah, God. What happened in the exact moment the door closed? Did they scream? Did the first drop fall immediately? Did regret come before the rain? It did not slam. It did not shake the earth. It closed slowly. The massive wooden door of the ark moved inward, not by human strength, but by divine command. Scripture says, "Then the Lord shut him in." Genesis 7:16. God closed it, not Noah, not his sons. When God closes a door, no man can open it. And outside, the crowd didn't understand what that meant. Not yet. At first, it was only wind, a strange wind, the kind that makes animals restless, the kind that makes birds fly low. Inside the ark, Noah's family felt the shift. The air pressure changed, the wood groaned. Then, a drop. One single drop of rain touched the dust. Someone laughed. Is this the flood? Another drop fell, then another. The ground darkened. The laughter faded. The sky split open. Not gentle rain, not a passing storm. The heavens poured, and beneath them, the earth broke apart. The fountains of the deep burst open, just as God had warned in Genesis 7:11. Water didn't just fall from above, it erupted from below. Now the same people who mocked ran. They ran to the ark. They pounded on the door. Noah! But obedience had already entered, and opportunity had already left. Imagine the young man from the night before, now drenched, now terrified. He pushed against the door. He screamed. He begged. But the door was not locked with wood. It was sealed with judgment. This was not cruelty. This was consequence. For 120 years, mercy had preached.
Now, mercy had stepped inside the ark. Inside it was dark, only lantern light, the sound of animals, the shaking of wood. The ark lifted. Noah felt it. The ground beneath them was gone. Everything familiar disappeared. And though they were safe, they were also grieving, because outside were neighbors, friends, voices they once knew. Salvation is sometimes lonely. This was not just about rain. It was about a world that refused to change. Violence filled the earth, corruption ruled, hearts were hardened, and God, who was patient, had reached the limit of warning. The flood was not an emotional reaction, it was a holy reset. What was it like during the first night inside the ark, as screams faded, as water rose, as the world disappeared?
The rain did not stop. It intensified. Thunder rolled across a sky no one had ever seen before. The ark groaned as waves crashed against its wooden sides. And then, it lifted higher. There was no more earth beneath it, no more streets, no more fields, no more cities, only water. Inside, lanterns flickered. Animals shifted nervously. Children clung to their mothers. The sons of Noah held beams to steady themselves. Noah did not speak much that night. What words could explain what was happening? He had obeyed, he had warned, he had prepared. But nothing prepares you emotionally for watching the old world disappear. Faith had built the ark. Now faith had to survive inside it. Imagine the sound. Water striking wood, wind screaming through cracks, the ark rocking violently, and beneath it all, the fading cries of humanity. Eventually, there was only the storm. Because the waters rose 15 cubits upward and the mountains were covered. Genesis 7:20. Even the highest ground disappeared. There was nowhere left to run. Noah had been right, but being right did not feel victorious. There was no celebration inside the ark, no applause, no triumph. Only silence. Obedience saved them, but it separated them. Sometimes following God means standing alone and floating while everything familiar sinks. The flood continued for 40 days. 40 days of rain, 40 days of thunder, 40 days of watching the horizon disappear. Everything that breathed outside the ark was gone. Not because God failed, but because humanity refused. And yet, inside that wooden vessel, life remained. Hope remained. A future remained. The ark was more than wood. It was a picture of salvation. One door, one way in, one family saved. And when God closed that door, grace moved from indication to preservation. The first night above a drowning world was not the end. It was the beginning of something new. What was it like on day 40 when the rain finally stopped? What did Noah feel when the thunder ended, but the water remained? For 40 days, the heavens roared. Then, silence. No thunder, no lightning, no pounding rain on wood. Only the sound of water. Water stretching farther than sight could reach. Inside the ark, Noah noticed it first, the quiet. But quiet does not always mean relief, because the rain had stopped, yet the flood remained. The ark drifted, no direction, no landmarks, no visible destination, just endless water. Imagine standing at the small window, searching the horizon, hoping to see even the top of a tree. Nothing. The old world was gone. The new world had not yet appeared. They were suspended between judgment and promise. Then Scripture says something powerful. But God remembered Noah. Genesis chapter 8, verse 1. Not because God had forgotten, but because the season of destruction was ending. A wind passed over the earth. The waters began to recede, slowly, not instantly. God saved them in a moment, but restoration would take time. Surviving the storm required courage, but waiting after the storm required trust. Days passed, then weeks. The ark eventually came to rest on the mountains of Ararat, Genesis chapter 8, verse 4. But they were still inside, safe, yet not free. Sometimes God brings you through the storm, but keeps you in the ark longer than you expect, not to punish you, but to prepare the ground ahead. Imagine the questions inside the ark. Is it time yet? Can we open the door? What if the world is still broken? Noah did not force the door open. The same God who shut it would be the one to open it. Faith is not just entering the ark. Faith is staying inside until God speaks. The flood teaches more than judgment. It teaches God warns before he moves. God protects those who obey. God restores what he washes. But restoration takes time. And sometimes the silence after the storm is where your faith is truly tested. What happened the day the door finally opened? What did Noah see when he stepped onto a cleansed earth? And what covenant did God establish that still stands today?
It had been over a year. Rain, flood, waiting, silence. Then finally, God spoke. Go out of the ark. Genesis 8:16. The same God who shut the door now opened the future. Noah did not rush. He stepped out slowly. And what he saw was not destruction. It was beginning. The earth was washed. The air was different. The sky felt new. The old world was gone, but mercy stood before him. Noah did not build a house first. He built an altar. Before planting, before planning, before rebuilding civilization, he worshiped. And Noah built an altar to the Lord. Genesis 8:20. Gratitude rose before progress because Noah understood something powerful. He did not survive because he was strong. He survived because God was faithful. Then God made a covenant, not only with Noah, but with every generation after him. I set my rainbow in the cloud. Genesis 9:13. The rainbow was not decoration, it was a divine reminder, a sign that judgment would not come that way again, a promise that mercy would remain part of God's story. Every time clouds gather, every time storms roll in, the rainbow whispers, I remember. The ark was salvation. The flood was cleansing. The waiting was preparation. The rainbow was promise. And the night before the ark closed, that was mercy's final invitation. There will always be a night before, a moment before decisions are sealed, a moment before doors close, a moment when pride and faith wrestle. The people in Noah's time thought they had more time, but the door closed quietly. And when God closes a door, it is not to destroy hope, it is to protect those who entered when mercy called. The rain stopped, the waters receded, the rainbow appeared, but history will always remember there was a night when mercy waited at the door.